Time is 5:22, and I am calling this committee meeting to order. Mr. Rustin, will you do roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Manny?
Here.
Manny present. Member Costa?
Here.
Costa present. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let me first say I'm extremely sorry for my tardiness. I was on a BART train that broke down, and the conductor had to get out and switch it manually. So thank you very much for your patience. I really appreciate it. Mr. Clerk, will you call the first item?
The first item is the adoption of April 14, 2011 regular meeting minutes.
Roll call. Or
Is there a motion?
motion to adopt.
Yeah. I make a motion to adopt.
Seconded. Roll call. Is there public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Could we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Manny?
Aye.
Manny, aye. Member Costa?
Aye.
Costa, aye. Mr. Chair, we have 2 ayes. The motion passes.
Terrific. Mr. Clerk, will you call the next item, please?
The next item is hearing on the status of the January 25th, 2011 order of determination regarding 10054 Ray Hartz against the Library Commission.
Is the complainant present? You have 5 minutes.
Members, the document I've just handed you is a communication I had with Mr. Rustin following the issue of the order of determination that is the subject of this case. And what I have pointed out several times before the full task force is that there is a misstatement in here regarding the finding of fact and conclusion of law. It said, "It is also noted that the task force has found in a previous ruling that placing the 150-word statement as an addendum was acceptable if it was mentioned in the body of the minutes." And that, unfortunately, is not true. If you look at the very top of the memo I just gave you, it says, "I believe the remark was made during the hearing of 10056 Peter Witt versus FMTA. There was no order of determination because there was no finding." And the whole purpose of this hearing before the full task force was the fact that the law says that the 150-word statement should be included in the minutes. And then that was voted as being in violation, and then this came out saying, oh, well, it's okay not to put them in the minutes. So I would first request that this be sent back to the full task force for clarification on that matter, because I don't think it's really fair to put you or anybody else in the position of having to determine this when there's contradictory information in here in this determination. In lack of that, I would like to make a couple of comments on some things that have been changed in the Library Commission's meeting. They still continue to put the meeting, the 150-word statements at the end as an addendum, which means they are outside the body of the minutes. And they also place them in a strange order, which is if one person puts in 3 comments, they put those 3 comments, and even though there are about 3 different agenda items, they put them in order. And they don't mark them as like 1, 3, and 5. They just put these were submitted. And then they follow with the next person, and if they put in 2, they put those 2 in order. So basically anybody who is reading these minutes, although they might see a note in there saying, okay, this person submitted a 150-word statement, if you look at the way they put it as the attachment, it makes no sense. Because you can have an item, a 150-word statement cutting item number 1 from a person, that same person, item number 3, the same person, item number 5, and then another item, a person, item number 1, item number 5. And if another person does it, they're out of, so basically, instead of putting them, everybody who made comments on item number 1 together, and then item number 2 together, then item number 3 together, so that people who are reading the minutes, if they see the statement in the minutes, can go back to and say, oh, here are 2 or 3 statements about agenda item number 1. They can understand what's going on. So at a minimum, I would like them to, I still do firmly believe that the law just clearly says in the minutes. And I think that there is a very important reason for that, and the reason is that basically what they do, whether they want to agree with it or not, is they don't like the comments that are being made. They don't want them in the minutes, and what they do is they attach them to the minutes and then put their interpretation of what the person said in the minutes. And believe me, I have read them multiple times, and nowhere, not one time, have any of my 150-word statements or of others really been reflected in the minutes accurately. So I really do believe that the law says in the minutes, it means in the minutes, and I think this should go back to the full task force because of that problem with the way the determination was written. And that, I will tell you right now, that night we had the discussion, that whole idea of attaching them to the minutes never came up until the vote had already been taken, finding them in violation. Then somebody said, oh, by the way, didn't we say this? And this clarification here says, no, there was no determination to that effect, and so I think it needs to go back to the task force. But at a minimum, the way that they're laid out, if they are to be an attachment, should be in some sort of a logical order where people reading the minutes, which these are the members for the members of the public, should be able to very easily determine agenda item number 1, here are the 150-word statements for agenda item number 1, agenda item number 2, here are the 150-word statements for agenda item number 2, and so forth. And unless you have any questions, that's it.
Thank you. Is there anybody to present facts and evidence in support of the complainant? All right, is the respondent present?
Hi, Sue Blackman, Library Commission Secretary. I do need to leave in just a couple minutes, so I hope we can wrap this up. We have changed the way we're doing the minutes, and we have changed it so that it will be, as Mr. Hart stated, item 1, and who's ever submitted comments on item 1 will be listed. So it won't be confusing. I think that was the first time that this came up that I had summary statements from more than one person. So I wasn't really clear how that was going to work, and I put his comments first and then the other person. But we have changed that, so they will be item 1, and whoever submits comments will be listed as item 1. They are an addendum in the minutes. So that has been changed as well, and I have a sample of the most current minutes if you want to take a look at them. So that's all I have to say.
Is there anybody to support facts or evidence in support of the respondent? All right, seeing none, the matter is with the task force for discussion and questions. Ms. Blackman? So is the Library Commission committed to keeping these public comments at the end of minutes rather than just including them in the body?
City librarian, or the city attorney's recommendation.
Is the commission bound to follow the recommendation of the city attorney?
No, they're not, but they believe that that's the correct direction to go, is to have them, in the minutes, but as an addendum in the minutes. So they are, you don't have to go to another page, you don't have to, on the website, it comes up just like that, so you read through and the addendum is immediately following in the minutes.
And to clarify, when you say that is the recommendation of the city attorney, are you referring to the Good Government Guide?
Right, and our deputy city attorney, who has told us we're in conformance.
Told you what?
That we're in conformance with the Sunshine Ordinance.
Okay. Is there any has there been any indication that you will be less in conformance with the Sunshine Ordinance? Were you to put the comments right in the body of the?
No, they just prefer not to do that. They're just following what the Good Government Guide says. I mean, I haven't had a direction from the Library Commission otherwise.
Okay. I have a question for Mr. Hartz, actually.
Yes.
So in what you just submitted here, you say the determination reads in part, it also noted that the task force had found in previous ruling that placing the statement as an addendum was acceptable if it was mentioned in the body of the minutes.
Correct.
What is the it that that's referring to? I don't.
The statement, the 150-word statement. In other words, what they want to do is they want to place their interpretation of the statement in the body of the minutes.
Sorry, I mean, not to interrupt you, but
Yeah, go ahead.
it also noted that the task force. What is noting that the task?
The determination.
Okay.
At one point, it says they're in violation for not putting them
Correct.
in the minutes, and then further up, in the thing of law, it says we've determined in previous rulings, but it hasn't. And that's why I brought the case.
My reading of that is that we are in essence changing our stance to be that, not including them in the body is worthy of a violation. It seems like that is really what the order of determination is saying. Not a failure to include this in the body itself is a violation of 67.16.
Right.
And so you're just worried that there's some conflict there.
Well, no,
Where-
I'm saying that most of us know what the difference between in and out is.
Mm-hmm.
In the minutes means in the minutes. If you end the minutes, you put the signature of the person officiating it, and then you attach something after, that's not in the minutes, that's attached to the minutes, appended to the minutes. You can call it whatever you want, but it's not in. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. In is in and out is out.
And so you don't feel like that the last decision was sufficiently clear in saying that.
Well, I think it was contradictory in that it found them in violation for not including it in the minutes. And then on the top said, we found in previous determination this, which they had not.
I see.
There has been no finding that appending it or attaching it or whatever is actually the same thing as in the minutes.
I see. Thank you.
Do you recommend that it be brought to the task force? He requested that it be
Brought back to the task
brought
force.
back to the entire task force. But I'm not sure if this particular meeting, this month's meeting, would allow for it.
Mr. Rustin, do you have
Mr. Rustin, do
any sense
you-
of that?
It will go on the agenda, but whether it's heard or not is another question.
Right.
Perhaps we can refer it back as an item to discuss.
I think they would need to be present, though. Mr. Russom, do you have any thoughts?
Through the chair, I would suggest sending it back to the task force.
Yeah.
As a reconsideration of the determination, or just as a clarification of the that there is no split in our
Yeah, I think
sort
just
of
in
understanding of
terms
this.
For
Clarifying.
reconsideration and clarification
Yeah.
purposes.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move that it be brought to the full task force attention to reconsider and clarify.
Do we need to take public comment before
Second.
You have to second
I'll
first.
second it.
and-
Okay.
public comment? Seeing none.
Roll call.
Roll call.
On the motion, Member Manny.
Aye.
Manny and Member Costa.
Aye.
Costa, aye. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Before you leave, Ms. Blackman, I would strongly urge that until so we did make what I determined to be a fairly clear decision on this case that it is in violation of the Sunshine Ordinance to not be including statements in the body of the minutes themselves. And so I would say until a decision is made otherwise by the full task force, I would strongly urge you to do that in your minutes
Okay,
going forward.
we will continue to do as the city attorney has recommended that we do. But I will say at the last task force meeting, there was a discussion about whether to send this to the Ethics Commission, and there wasn't a second on that. And they did say that it should come back here so we can talk about, how I do the minutes, whatever. So there already has been that discussion, so I don't know what else can be done. But I'll be happy to go
I can
back
tell
to
you-
the full task force.
Sorry?
I'll be happy to go back to the full task force. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think that I think that it seems fairly clear at this point that the decision of the task force was that the Library Commission was in violation for not including the statements in the body of the minutes. And I understand that is not the advice you've gotten from the city attorney. However, what holds supreme authority in this case is the ordinance itself, not the
Well,
city attorney.
and the Library Commission has to make that decision. So they haven't,
I don't believe that's true.
well, I'll tell you, I'm
If they-
just going to say, there are no other commissions in this city that we know of that do that. This would set a precedence for everybody.
That's correct, and
That's correct.
that is
And
what we're
that's-
trying to enforce.
And
is a
we, I can take it back to the commission and talk to them again. I certainly will do that. They just have, to this point, said they want to continue doing them the way that they've been doing them. That may change, but
And unfortunately, in sort of long term, as that continues, people could read it in the sense of having that continued practice as an addendum violate the Sunshine Ordinance and would continue more complaints, just so that you're aware.
yeah, correct.
And I would also encourage you, if you're discussing this matter further with the city attorney, to dig into the language of the ordinance itself, which is pretty clear about the fact that statements less than 150 words need to be included in the body of the minutes.
And I will say I have talked to members of the task force personally, and they did say it was clear at this previous, there wasn't an action taken, but it was clear that they were fine on another case, that it was done as an addendum. So this is kind of a change in direction. So we did take that into consideration as well. So if the task force wants to rehear it, I'll be happy to attend.
Thank you very much
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just so we're very clear, I have gone repeatedly before the Library Commission, asked them to put it on the agenda, have an actual discussion, but they don't do it. They simply have this conversation among themselves saying, did the city attorney say this or that? I've repeatedly asked them to get a written statement from the city attorney saying that they felt that qualified and met it, but they don't do that because the city attorney has not, as far as I can tell, given them that opinion. They may have told them something verbally, but that's just hearsay. Them saying, this is what the city attorney told me. And if they really had something solid and they came here and they said, city attorney says that outside the minutes, attached, appended, whatever it is the same as in the minutes, it has yet to be produced. So they're just basically stonewalling, and the attitude seems to be, well, we don't care if you're the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, and we don't care if you're the people who are supposed to look at these things. We're going to do what we want to do. And I think that's unfortunately a shame. It really is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, could you call item 3 on the agenda?
Item 3 is hearing on the status of the February 22nd, 2011 order of determination regarding 11001 William Clark against the City Attorney's Office.
Thank you. Is the complainant present?
Yes, I am. I just wanted to let you know there's a clerical error on your agenda. It says 110001 on the agenda. I hope that didn't affect whether the city attorney appeared here tonight, because I don't see him here. But I just wanted to let you know. I'm sorry.
Just for clarification, I don't mean to take away from your time, but city attorneys are only present at the full task force meetings.
Oh, so they didn't have to show up here tonight?
Through the chair, I think Mr. Clark is talking about the City Attorney's Office representative on the
The respondent.
respondent
Right.
side.
Yes.
Sorry.
Mr. Russum, and again, you'll get your full time. Would that affect does that affect, our ability to hear this item right now? No. Okay. Please
Okay.
continue. Thank you.
I want to make you aware, I don't know how familiar you are with this again, but basically I asked for a clarification of what the 11.75 hours, which the city attorney did, and I got this, and the city attorney said that they invoked the client privilege thing and said that they didn't have records of exactly what these hours were spent on, so they couldn't tell me what it was, yet the city attorney testified that they only spent it on legitimate Sunshine Ordinance requests. So my point is how can, on the one hand, they say they don't keep records of exactly what these hours were spent in regards to the Sunshine Ordinance, yet on the other hand, tell me that, oh, well, they only spent it on legitimate advice and not giving legal counsel to the Arts Commission. And I wanted to point out that two sections of the Sunshine Ordinance, 67.24, subsection B, subsection 1, triple I, says that notwithstanding any exemptions otherwise provided by law, the following are public records subject to disclosure under this ordinance. And it says, advice on compliance with, analysis of, an opinion concerning liability under, or any communication otherwise concerning the California Public Records Act, the Ralph M. Brown Act, the Political Reform Act, any San Francisco government ethics codes, or this ordinance. So, I mean, I should be entitled to be told what these hours that the city attorney spent were specifically dealing at what in regards to what Sunshine Act, and then also in section 67.21I, it says all communications with the city attorney's office with regard to this ordinance, including petitions, requests for opinion, and opinions shall be public records. And so here, all they're giving me is a piece of paper that breaks down the 11.75 hours to 25 minutes was spent with this attorney on this day, 2 hours on this day, and they refused to tell me exactly, or at least give me some idea of what the subject matter was of each time the city attorney met with this. And I think, it's pretty outrageous that the city attorney's office can sit here and write it this way, because otherwise they could have counsel, they could be giving counsel to anybody in the city government, just simply write it up as, oh, we did it as a Sunshine compliance or Ralph Brown Act compliance, but we can't tell you what it was about because that's client privilege, that's attorney-client privilege. Yet we don't keep a record of what we talk about because we don't keep that record. I mean, and then they're not here tonight. I mean, I'm really upset about this. There's a lot going on, and I think that you should send this back to the full task force and let them know that I think it, because I'm being charged for if you recall, my fee was raised to pay for this time, and all the street arts fees were raised, and we're being subjected to harassment over at the Art Commission, them claiming that we're spending so much of their time trying to get these records. And I don't have time tonight to tell you what's been going on over there, but in the future we'll be letting you know about some things. But I just don't understand why, if this one attorney spent 25 minutes and they can't tell us what the subject matter was. They can't say, well, this was in regards to Mr. Clark's Sunshine request for these papers, or this was in regards to this other individual's public records request for these public records. I think it's outrageous. I don't know what else to say to you. I'm just stunned. And then they don't show up here. They told us that they first told us that they would be happy to give us this information. I was yelled at by them. And as a matter of fact, it was put in the records that my brother and I threatened the city attorney physically outside this committee, which was a total lie. And then he said he would be happy to give us this information. And then then they give us this piece of paper, this ridiculous thing. So, you know, I'm really upset about them at least not coming here and explaining why I shouldn't be given this information.
Thank you. Is there anybody present to present facts and evidence in support of the complainant?
Hi, Ray Hartz. I've had several interactions with the city attorney regarding hours and things, and one in particular when Ernie Lorente was the advisor to the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, and I asked for his specific hours to find out how many hours a week he actually put into it, because the law requires that you be given sufficient support. And I found out that he spent something like 6 hours a week, and that was the total. And but what they did is they give you, like this gentleman, they give you a sheet and it simply says hours, a date, and who it was for. That's it. So you really can't tell anything, and I do not think it is any sort of a giving away of information that is client privileged information to say what it was a discussion about. If it was a discussion about permits, if it was a discussion about this or discussion about that, but to simply let them off the hook and say, well, you can just say we spent this many hours and then not give any information that's meaningful is really unfair. And I do agree that they should be on violation for not sending someone to this committee meeting.
Is there anybody else?
Can I speak under public comment, or can I only speak at this? No, I'm not. It's just William Clark. It's not me. This is under public comment. You know, I think what's happened.
So, excuse me 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, did Mr. Clark speak during the presented his case as a
member of the public?
who presented the case? William. Okay, this is Robert Clark. Right. Okay, thank you.
It's a good thing we're not triplets, otherwise we'd really be confusing people. What I'm basically trying to say is that I think what's happening here is that the city attorney is acting as a legal representative for the Art Commission. They were found in violation of that in a previous case. And so what they're doing is they're going in, they're giving lawyer advice beyond what they're allowed to do under the Sunshine Ordinance, and they're trying to cover it up by having a blanket statement on all these times and saying, oh, well, we've only used this for public document requests. And then when we get there and we say, well, look, they're kind of caught in between a rock and a hard place. If they say, well, some of this was for attorney-client, as an attorney-client situation, then you're in violation of the Sunshine Ordinance. If they say that, oh, no, this was just for a public document request and what we're allowed to do, then all of that information is public information and they have to turn it over to us. So rather than coming in here and getting in front of you and allowing you to ask the questions that we can determine this, these honorable men at the city attorney's office don't show up. And we have to sit here and try to understand it among ourselves. Did they violate it? Didn't they violating it? So I think their actions speak for themselves. They're refusing to come in front of this body. They're only putting blanket information that says Sunshine Ordinance request. And then when you ask them to give you at least the subject, then they say, well, we don't have any records of what the subject is. And as my brother pointed out, if they don't have any records of what the subject is, how can it be sunshine? How can they know their Sunshine Ordinance request? You know, they're talking out of both sides of their mouths, and they're trying to cover up the fact that this task force is now becoming aware through other evidence my brother and I have presented to him that the city attorney is going beyond their capacity to advise the Art Commission in order to help the Art Commission keep us from getting certain documents. And you know, the only thing I can say is that my brother and I are not going to stop. We've been intimidated over at the Art Commission. As a matter of fact, our commission now is bringing a police officer to every meeting and has posted phony minutes claiming that they informed my brother and I that if we quote, disrupt any meetings, which we haven't, that we're going to be escorted out of the meeting. So my brother and I are so intimidated, we're afraid to go to those meetings anymore. We haven't shown up to the last two meetings because we are afraid of being arrested if we quote, disrupt those meetings. Thank you.
Is the respondent present? And is there anybody present to support facts or evidence in support of the respondent? All right, seeing none, the matter is back with the task force for discussion and questions. Well, it's certainly unfortunate that the respondent has chosen again not to show up to a case that is relevant. And has there been any development in the way of more information provided or more an explanation provided or anything? Has there been?
No, this is the only document I've ever gotten.
So since the order of determination,
Right.
the last hearing, there's been no
Nothing.
response from the city
Nothing.
attorney's office.
No. I don't know. Well, I just, my turn is coming up next anyway.
Member Mene, what do you think about this?
Could we at the least find a violation of failure to appear?
Are we
But-
able to find violations as a committee?
I mean, if they were, first of all, Mr. Rustem, the respondent was aware that he or she needed to be present?
Through the chair, yes, I informed the respondent that somebody needed to be here.
Huh.
And Mr. Rustem, just procedurally, if we were, if we wanted to find some sort of violation, that would be a referral back to the full task force.
That would be, Mr. Chair, that would be a recommendation to the
to
full task
the
force.
full task force.
Yeah.
Well, the respondent is not present, but does the complainant have any further clarification or rebuttal?
I just want to just point out to you, so when you put this forward, that is very clear that, all I asked for was a breakdown of what this 11.75 hours was, because we were charged money to pay for their services. And what we're trying to determine is whether we're paying for legitimate services. We're having hard times paying these fees. And we're trying to determine whether or not, all those hours that were claimed to be on the legitimate advice was legitimate advice, because we don't want to pay for something that the city attorney doesn't have the legal authority to do, even if it was only half of this time. And I just want to point out to you that all I got for the record is a list of the file number. They have the file number here for all these hours. It would seem to me there must be something in that file that says what these specific, breakdowns were in regards to. There's got to be something in there. And for the city, it's a city attorney to just come in here and claim that, oh, well, we only give good advice to all, because I see this as going beyond like what you just had a few minutes ago. I see this as them coming in and saying, well, we always only give legitimate advice concerning the Sunshine Ordinance. We don't go beyond the point of, giving them more advice of how to operate or how to talk to you or how to present their arguments. And so I think that it's very important for you to get the city attorney that at least if they're going to do things like this, that they should be able to clarify for your benefit and for us what these hours are spent on, because otherwise, who's to say that they couldn't just say, hey, let's raise the street artist fees a few more dollars, and we'll sit down and talk for a couple of hours, and then we'll write it up as a sunshine request, put it in this file, and then we can point the finger towards. Like my brother said, we've got some serious problems. We've got phony minutes being written, things that they're writing in the minutes, and my brother and I don't even know who to go to because we know it's not you, because you don't have anything to do with whether a commission writes phony, puts things in the minutes that never occurred, and there's a reason why this is being this information was being withheld. And, you know, I think it has to do with finances, because we're exposing that for your information, my brother and I have in the past found $100,000 that was misappropriated, and we had to put back into our program. We found another $250,000 that never was put back in the program. And I think that this goes deeper than just what we're asking for. So I'd like to go back in front of the task force. Thank you.
Thank you. So a violation has already been found for not presenting this information.
Yeah.
It seems like we can certainly recommend a violation for not having sent a representative.
To this particular meeting.
Sorry?
To this particular meeting.
Yes. And I mean, is there... Could there also be a violation for not having complied, given the order of determination? Well, I don't know. I mean, perhaps. Sorry, Mr. Russell.
Chair Costa, just a reminder, sort of, and this has happened before you joined, I believe. The stand of the city attorney's office is it's confidential. It's attorney-client privilege. They're claiming that, but they've also pointed out that the information has been produced by the Arts Commission. I think the question here is whether the city attorney's office has provided the documents or not. And in this case, they haven't.
Right.
They haven't provided the
They
documents.
haven't provided the documents.
Yes. But they do have the documents.
The city attorney's office is claiming that the Arts Commission has provided the Clark brothers with the information.
I see. And the Arts Commission has not provided. I'm sorry, can you say
The Arts Commission has. The city attorney's office hasn't.
Okay. Okay.
You want to hold up a second.
I'm sorry?
Perhaps if you want to hear Mr. Clark's.
Sure, you can address it very briefly.
Okay, the city says the Arts Commission has presented me with the breakdown of this, and they haven't. They only told me they did 11.75 hours. There were some records that were given to me that showed what for half of the year, because this was for a full fiscal year, that for half of the year, the Art Commission gave me some records of what their staff spent their time with, and in those records it said, oh, we had a conference with the city attorney's office, and we spent so much time. But they never gave me the full year's this 11.75 years. That was part of the last case, because the city attorney came in here saying, I got these records, and when I went back, I looked at them, and they weren't the record for a full year. They were only for like half a year, and they weren't their records. They were the Art Commission's general breakdown of what their staff time was and how much time they spent regarding the Sunshine Ordinance request. So I never got these records from the Arts Commission, and I've never got the records from the city attorney's
But
office.
the records that you did get were the Arts Commission's records.
The records I got were from the Arts Commission that gave me a breakdown of what their staff time was in regards to the sunshine, how much time their staff spent on sunshine ordinance requests. It was not the city attorney's time or what the specifics of each hour that the city attorney spent.
And that's what you want.
That's what I want. I want to know what they spent this time on.
The city attorney, not
Yes,
the...
yes, the city attorney.
And Mr. Russom, what you're saying is that the city attorney's office is, what their claim has been is that the Arts Commission already provided this information,
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
what he is requesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And they didn't.
How, may I say something?
Yes.
This is not about the Arts Commission, Mr. Chair. This
Right,
is
it's
about
about
the city attorney's
attorney's
office.
Attorney's
Yes.
office, yeah.
But the city attorney's office excuse essentially is that this information has already been provided by the Arts Commission.
Yes, and if they have to release it, they cannot release it because of attorney-client privilege.
Okay. Well, I wasn't present for this order of determination, but the order of determination seems pretty clear that that the task force believed that was a violation to not provide that information. It seems troublesome that, given that the city attorney's office has chosen to still not provide that information, nor show up to justify why they're not providing that information. I think that this is worth kicking back to the full task force, for some sort of reconsideration. I think that, not showing up is one item.
Right.
Perhaps a failure to justify withholding is another. Is that what we already found? What's 6726 is that, I believe.
Yeah, I think we,
So I guess, we can't really find them in violation of the same thing again, can we?
I
6727 actually is justification of withholding. I don't know. What do you think?
we could make that recommendation.
Sure. That's what I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
right?
yeah. We can definitely make that recommendation. Unfortunately, I don't believe I was at that meeting either. One of the few that I've missed more recently, but
Well, how do you feel about making that recommendation? Or
yeah,
does
I think that would be a good idea. But I also think it's critical to have someone knowledgeable of the situation to speak as a respondent. Be there and essentially not fail to appear as today. So
I fully agree. What kind of, how can we encourage that anymore?
Make a motion.
I think definitely Mr. Rustum will reach out to them and hopefully they do appear. But to move forward, I suppose I'll make the motion of making that recommendation to the full task force.
Mm-hmm. I'll second the motion. May I ask a question of you?
Certainly.
So is there any way that we can make some sort of, stronger than usual kind of encouragement of the city attorney's office to be at this next meeting?
I will reflect the sentiments of the committee and urge them strongly to appear at the task force hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
I unfortunately don't think we have any summoning power.
Right.
So
So should we call public comment? Public comment on this item?
Just to make it clear, my previous statement would be considered under public comment, I believe. That's what I wanted it to be considered under. Thank you.
sure.
Thank you. All right. So roll call on this matter.
Yes, Mr. Chair. On the motion, Member Manny.
Aye.
Manny, aye. Member Costa.
Aye.
Costa, aye. Mr. Chair, we have 2 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Sorry to bug you guys about this. I'm just stunned that they're not here because we could get this over with.
Well, can we call the next item, please, Mr. Rustam?
Next item is public comment.
Is there any public comment?
Ray Hartz, I'll keep this brief. Number one, I want to congratulate you. I think the task force has started to move in a direction that I really see it having a responsibility to go. I think it's kind of embarrassing that living in the Bay Area, which most of the United States probably thinks this is the lefto, pinko, liberal, whatever, bastion. And unfortunately, you have to go before city commissions and boards and ask them to follow the law and ask them for permission to make public comment. And you'll have people like the police commission, 6 out of 7 whom are attorneys, fully conversant with constitutional law, and they will stand there in a public meeting and say, you can't talk about that, when they know full well that that is just not true. And they also will manipulate their agenda when they see a lot of people in the audience so that they can go into closed session, which they know is going to result in everyone leaving, and then they come back and do all the rest of their business on the agenda without any bothersome public comment. And 40 years ago this month, I took an oath when I joined the Navy to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I really do believe that in this city, any citizen should be able to come up and address a public body without interruption and without interference. And any sort of a law that is on the books, if you go to somebody and say, would you read this law and just please follow it, they ought to be able to get that rather than having to fight the way people do on these occasions. So good job and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make a brief public comment in regards to what's happening to us, because as I stated before, when we go to the Art Commission for the public meetings, they're not big meetings. Most of them are just a few people. And recently, when I came in here and I made the allegation that my brother was told that he couldn't ask any questions under public comment, there was a little back and forth, arguing going on. And since that time, like the last 2 meetings, the Arts Commission has had a police officer present at the meetings just to make sure that there's no disruptions at the meetings. And my brother and I have been working with the Art Commission for 40 years. And we've been, and the Board of Supervisors for 40 years, and all the mayors, and we've always tried to conduct ourselves respectfully, even if I may not agree with everything, and trying to, because I see these committees as fact-finding committees where they're supposed to behave with disinterested zeal and try and determine what the facts are before they vote on a matter. And now we're having situations where we go into this committee meeting, and we had the minutes, as I was telling you, at the previous meeting, there was a comment that the committee had stated that they had to admonish the members of the public, which was me and my brother, that not to disrupt the meeting, and if we did it in the future, that we would be basically arrested and thrown out of the meeting. Never happened. I've got the tapes to prove that. And now what happens is we go in there, and if for any reason, if I make a sound, I'm under the threat that they're going to decide that that's a disruption. They're going to haul me out of the meeting, and then they're going to point to their previous minutes, which are bogus, and say, see, we warned these people in the past. Who's going to listen to? Nobody's going to listen to the actual tape of the minutes. So I just want to make you aware that if something happens to me and my brother as a result of these meetings or something, we're not going in there making a disruption. Because as a matter of fact, my brother and I decided at this one particular meeting that we weren't going to make a sound because we felt like we were being set up for, for the kill. And we decided we weren't going to make a sound in objection if we lost this one agenda item, which we did. So we didn't say anything. And then we read the minutes, and the minutes stated this. And we presented this to the full task force. And my brother and I and other street artists who want to criticize the Arts Commission, because I think this falls under the criticism part. We want to legitimately criticize them, but we're being intimidated. Thank you for taking that extra time.
I'll be real short. To continue this, what's happening, under our system, the law was passed that at a minimum, to protect the public so we could speak, that at a minimum, the public was allowed 3 minutes to speak or 2 minutes to speak. Well, what's happening with me and my brother and other street artists who are criticizing the Arts Commission is they're using this law as a maximum amount of time they're letting us speak. We go to these meetings, and my brother and I are the only two people at the meeting, and we're presenting law, we're presenting city attorney opinions, we're presenting attorney general opinions, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, we're interrupted, and one of the commissioners says, well, you have 4 seconds left to speak. Or, as in the last case, my brother was reading them the actual law, and the commissioner told him, your 3 minutes are up. And when my brother said, well, I'd like to finish reading the law to you, we were basically threatened with being thrown out of the room for disrupting the hearing. And in the 40 years, my brother and I are the people who started the Street Artists Program 40 years ago. And we've been on top of the financial situation. See, we're having a problem with the city attorney now, is because the city attorney knows that we have the evidence that over $250,000 was embezzled. So I just want to let your task force know that you're in the middle of something that the city attorney isn't going to tell you about. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. At this point, the chair would like to note that everybody in the audience has left. Mr. Clerk, can you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Next item is committee members' comments, questions, and requests for future agenda items.
Do you have any comments or questions, Mena? So I guess I just have one general one. Could you briefly bring me up to date on, have there been any sort of like pending discussions or, like matters that we've been dealing with in the long term that I should know about?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, no. Mr. Rustam, am I missing any big EOT items?
Through the chair, there were several items, but that died with the passage of the members.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only small little ideas that they brought,
Mm-hmm.
and they were nurturing it, and
Mhm.
they're sort of passing away from the committee.
Mm-hmm.
Those items are taken with them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one thing that we had wanted to do was like what was it, the Sunshine Award?
Sunshine Awards.
But, and that was basically, I think, just congratulating public officials or any city official who has really pushed for the Sunshine Ordinance and worked in close partnership and supported the task force. And then there was also an Eclipse Award. We agreed on Moonshine? Okay.
Yeah, and then it went to Eclipse.
And then it went to Eclipse.
I like it.
Yeah, we totally, Chris and I had this like alliance with Sue Cawthon to kindly coerce everyone to choose Moonshine, but we all lost, so they chose Eclipse. And that was, to basically, what's the word I'm looking for, to not be so politically incorrect? Aimed at public officials who were guilty of not adhering to sunshine. I'll keep it to that. So yeah, that was one thing.
Mr. Rustin?
Mr. Chair, also note that this idea was pretty opposed by members of the full task
Yeah,
force
it was.
because it was it could be seen as a politically motivated tool, and also because many members felt that there were many other organizations out there that are doing a better job. And
But-
so from doing it on an annual basis, it came down to a one-time basis. And from a one-time basis, it got wiped out.
And that's both the sunshine aspect and the eclipse aspect, or?
Eclipse died pretty early in the stage.
Okay.
Yeah, Eclipse was gone. We first presented the idea, and then we thought, okay, what are we going to name it? How are we going to move forward with it? And so we decided on names and how everything would look like in terms of who we would award it to and what the criteria would be. But a few of the longer-term task force members were opposed to it. But in general, at the end of our we had a couple discussions about it, and so I think their consensus was that they didn't want to move forward with it and support it.
I think it's a great idea.
Right?
I think that and I think in general, sort of, I don't know, creating more ideas like that are sort of encouraging outreach efforts and sort of citizen education efforts about open government and about sunshine is something that I'm personally very interested in. So I would love to, if you are agreeable and Mr. Russman is agreeable, continue discussion of that.
Unfortunately, as much as I support the idea, I have this other idea that there will be a lot of there won't be very positive reception.
Resistance.
Yeah, there'll be resistance.
Well, perhaps on a future, in future meetings, we can talk about different ways to restructure it, or different related ideas that can sort of might serve a similar kind of purpose. Or
were you at the meeting? I don't know if you were at the meeting where we wanted, and I know Mr. Rustin had something to say, so I would hate to take any more time out of his ideas, but we had an idea of having like a couple social media pages. Okay, yeah.
I think I heard that reported back, but I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Like a Facebook page, or like maybe a Twitter
and
account.
like tweeting stuff.
Yeah. Mr. Rustin, did you?
Chair Costa, I think right now the immediate concern or what needs to be done right now by the EOTC committee is the CAC committee is wrapping up on the amendments package. One more meeting and they are done.
Okay.
So perhaps as outreach of the committee, you may want to consider doing that before other things.
Doing an outreach meeting.
About the amendments.
About the amendments.
So holding some sort of public meeting to discuss the amendments as they've been adopted.
On the lines of the outreach that was introduced by Member Cotton, reaching out to the community, reaching out to organizations, informing that these changes are coming, because eventually they may have to vote on it, and if they do, then we've got the ground covered.
So we can expect the Compliance and Amendments Committee to be done with those by the next time we meet?
By the next time we meet, yes.
So maybe can we add an agenda item for discussing potential strategies for that outreach?
Certainly.
And can we also potentially resume the conversation, depending on how much time we have, about the social media?
Certainly we can do that.
I think the main concern that a couple of the members on the full task force raised were like, if there are multiple people on the page managing it or on the accounts managing them, that could somehow constitute a
serial meeting. That is
Yeah.
the,
And I think the suggestion that was proposed was that there would be one person
Yeah.
that the task force trusted to be in charge of whatever medium. Okay, well, perhaps we can talk more about that, or I don't know, talk about whether we want to bring it up to the full task force at the next meeting or something.
Chair Costa, may I say something?
Yes.
At the 24th meeting,
Mhm.
if there is time, you will be having to present a report from what happened here.
Mhm.
So maybe when that chance comes up, you may want to discuss whatever issues you want to have with them.
Okay. So that discussion won't just be agenda items. It will be this.
As part of a report of what was discussed here.
Okay. So it would be there would be room to potentially bring up the Facebook idea again there.
Yes,
so
we discussed Facebook, so you can bring it
Yeah.
up there.
Do we feel like that would be a good time and space to do, or should we make a more formal kind of addition to the agenda?
This is just, sorry,
Oh no, I think I was going to say exactly what you were. So
it's just informing them of, this topic was brought, we discussed it, and we will be discussing it further.
I
That's
see.
about it.
Okay.
like
Thank
a
you very
really,
much.
like a really quick report back
I
kind
see.
of a thing.
That's all.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
No nuts and bolts about it, just.
Sorry?
No nuts and bolts about it, just.
Just
you know,
to
just
keep
let
it on
them know
people's
that we-
minds.
yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, I don't have anything else. Do either of you have anything else?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Terrific. I will second that motion.